Okay, let's dive into a story that might sound, well, uncomfortably familiar for a lot of parents out there. It's the story of what happens when the school gate, which was once a place of excitement, becomes a source of dread. We're going to explore the phenomenon of school refusal, but we're not just going to look at the problem. We're going to uncover a solution that is so often overlooked.
It so often starts with words just like these. My tummy hurts, Mom. I can't go to school. Simple words, right? But they carry so much weight. For a lot of families, this is the very first sign that something much more complex is happening right below the surface. This isn't just about a stomachache. It's a cry for help.
So let's follow the journey of Lisa and her daughter, Emma. Now, Emma was, by all accounts, a great student, diligent, bright. She had high expectations for herself. But then, all of a sudden, these physical complaints started popping up, and Lisa began to realize they were a symptom of a much, much deeper struggle.
So let's start with what many people might just brush off as the classic Monday morning problem. But for Emma, this wasn't just a one-off thing. It was a pattern, a recurring battle that slowly started to take over their lives.
And here is where you see the real paradox. Emma wasn't lazy, far from it. She was a hard worker who put immense pressure on herself. Her anxiety would spike on Mondays and on test days, the moments when the pressure was highest. But the most telling clue? The second she was told she could stay home, poof, the stomachache, the headache, they would vanish, just like magic. Lisa figured out pretty quickly that this was way more than just a case of her daughter not feeling like it. What she was witnessing was a recognized condition, one that professionals actually have a specific name for.
The term is school refusal, but the crucial part of this definition really is that second half, in combination with emotional stress. This isn't about laziness or defiance. It's a genuine psychological reaction, and it's rooted in things like anxiety or depression. The refusal is the symptom, not the disease itself.
So, why don't we hear more about it? Well, because it's kind of a hidden problem. A kid like Emma gets a real stomachache from anxiety. The parent takes her to the doctor, and the doctor writes a note. The absence is officially excused, but the root cause is left completely untouched, allowing that anxiety to just grow. So when the traditional system was failing her, Lisa did what any desperate parent would do. She started looking for answers herself. She began exploring a world of education that went way beyond the standard one-size-fits-all model.
She discovered this whole ecosystem of alternative education right there in the Netherlands. Everything from Agora, which focuses on autonomous, student-led learning, to established methods like Montessori and Dalton. They all share this one core belief: education should adapt to the child, not the other way around.
And in the middle of all these options, one really stood out as a fast-growing movement: homeschooling. And the rise of this approach is actually pretty surprising when you look at the numbers.
Back in 2019, you had just over 1,000 kids being homeschooled in the Netherlands. It sounds like a pretty small number, right? Just a tiny fraction of the total student population.
But fast forward just 4 years later, and that number has nearly doubled. Whoa! That kind of jump shows you that homeschooling is shifting from a niche choice to a mainstream alternative for families whose kids, just like Emma, are falling through the cracks of the traditional system. But as Lisa kept digging, she had a breakthrough. She realized that changing the environment, that was only part of the solution. The real root cause of Emma's anxiety wasn't the school itself, but something much, much more fundamental.
This was the light bulb moment, the real breakthrough. Emma, as bright and motivated as she was, had never actually been taught how to learn effectively. It was like she was trying to build a house without a toolbox. All her effort was just leading to frustration because she was missing the basic skills to manage her own learning. And this lack of skills creates this really destructive cycle. It starts with not knowing how to study effectively. That leads to poor results, no matter how many hours she puts in. The long hours studying then eat into her social life, which leads to isolation. All of this culminates in frustration and a loss of motivation, until, finally, avoiding school feels like the only way out.
So this really boils it down to a simple contrast. The traditional system is obsessed with what to learn, the facts, the figures, but the solution for kids like Emma is to first focus on how to learn. When you make that shift, you replace frustration with self-confidence, and you turn that vicious cycle into a powerful upward spiral.
So what does learning how to learn actually mean? Well, it means concrete skills. Things like using mind maps to organize ideas, managing your time effectively, knowing when to take a break to avoid burnout, that's self-regulation, and maybe the most important of all, metacognition. The ability to step back and ask yourself, hey, is this study method actually working for me?
So, armed with this new insight, Lisa and Emma could finally forge a new path forward. This wasn't just about finding a new school. It was about building a whole new way of learning, one that was tailored specifically to Emma's needs.
Their solution ended up being a hybrid model. Emma spent part of her week at a small Montessori school, which offered a more individualized pace, and the other part at home, focusing intensely on building those core learning skills. And the results? They were transformative. The Monday morning stomach aches disappeared, replaced by genuine excitement to learn.
So if this story is hitting close to home for you, Emma's journey really offers a clear roadmap. It starts with recognizing those early signals, like physical complaints that vanish at home. From there, investigate whether a lack of learning skills is the real culprit. Then you can invest in teaching your child how to learn, all while keeping the lines of communication open, exploring alternatives, and seeking support.
This quote really gets to the heart of it all. Behavior always has a reason. School refusal isn't some random act of defiance. The behavior is a signal. It's a message trying to tell us something important. Our job isn't to punish the behavior, but to understand the reason behind it.
And that brings us to the most important takeaway. School refusal is not a failure, not of the child, not of the parent, not even of the school. It is simply a signal that there's a mismatch between what the child needs and their current learning environment. It's a call to find a better fit.
Emma's family found a custom solution that worked for her. But their journey leaves us with a much bigger question. As more and more kids show us that the one-size-fits-all model isn't working anymore, we have to ask ourselves, is our education system really ready for the level of customization that our children are so clearly telling us they need?